The grand chamber of the Galactic Council gleamed with impossible architecture, crystalline pillars stretching hundreds of meters upward, supporting a dome that shifted between translucent and opaque as distant stars wheeled overhead. Ambassador Thomas Reed felt small as he stood alone at the center of the chamber. 2,000 species represented, most participating in this powerful body for millennia. The 7 high counselors floated on gravity-defying platforms, their bodies ranging from gaseous clouds to silicon-based crystalline entities that glittered under the artificial light. Reed stood straight-backed in his simple gray suit, the sole representative of humanity, a species barely 2 centuries into their interstellar development. His heart pounded, but years of diplomatic training kept his expression neutral. The silence in the chamber felt oppressive as countless alien eyes studied him with curiosity, disdain, or outright hostility. "Humans of Earth," boomed First Counselor Vostok, his voice translated simultaneously across 734 languages filling the vast chamber. "You have been summoned to answer for your species. Violation of Concordat Law 5772 Beta, unlawful technological development." The charges illuminated in the air between Reed and the Council: humanity's quantum communication breakthrough, allowing instantaneous messaging across any distance without detection or interception, a technology the Council had deliberately suppressed for eons. "Such technology threatens the stability of galactic civilization," declared Third Counselor Nazura, her bioluminescent tendrils pulsing with aggression. "The penalty is severe. Regression protocols will be initiated. Your species will be returned to pre-industrial development." Gasps and murmurs rippled through the gathered representatives. Reed didn't tremble. Instead, a small smile touched his lips. "Before you pass judgment," Reed said, his voice calm but carrying throughout the chamber, "I have something to show you." He activated a small device on his wrist. The chamber's defensive systems should have prevented any unauthorized transmissions, yet every view screen across the chamber suddenly activated, showing identical images. Human ships. Thousands of them, appearing simultaneously across every major council world. "While you've been deliberating," Reed said quietly, "humanity has been preparing. Our quantum network isn't just for communication, it's for transportation." The council chamber erupted in pandemonium. Representatives of 100 species shouted questions or threats. The High Counselor's platforms drew closer together as they conferred urgently. Reed raised his voice above the chaos. "We're not here for judgment. We're here to tender our resignation from the Galactic Council." Second Counselor Tulax, a being composed of interwoven vines and flowers, leaned forward. "Impossible. No species may withdraw without unanimous consent. The penalties for attempting secession are absolute." "You misunderstand," Reed replied. "We're not asking permission." On the screens, human vessels, sleek and unlike any design the Council had catalogued, maintained their positions over key worlds. No weapons were visible, but the threat was implicit. 40 years, Reed continued, his voice hardening. "That's how long Earth has been part of this council. 40 years of having our development restricted, our innovations confiscated, our colonies limited. We were grateful for first contact, for the knowledge that we weren't alone. But we've learned what membership in your council truly means: stagnation by design." First Counselor Vostok's form pulsed with angry light. "Your accusations are baseless. The Council ensures stability and peace across 3 spiral arms. Without our guidance, species destroy themselves or others." Reed laughed, a sound so unexpected it silenced the chamber again. "Guidance? Is that what you call it?" He gestured, and the screens changed to show ancient documents, council records never meant for human eyes. "We found your archives," Reed explained. "The real ones, not the sanitized versions you share with new members. 10,000 years of deliberate suppression. Technology shelved because they might disrupt your precious hierarchy. Species deemed too aggressive or unpredictable held back for centuries longer than necessary." Fourth Counselor Draz, a massive arthropod with compound eyes that reflected the chamber's light, clicked forward. "How did you access sealed records?" "Those archives are protected by security systems designed by the Mithrani 1,500 years ago," Reed interrupted. "Systems that haven't been significantly updated since. You've grown complacent, counselors, convinced of your own superiority." Reed paced a small circle, addressing the entire chamber now. "Humanity was fortunate. You underestimated us because of our youth. When our scientists discovered the principles of quantum entanglement that you've kept suppressed, they weren't detected because you weren't looking for that specific breakthrough from us. Not for at least another century, according to your development models. The screen shifted again, showing laboratories deep beneath Earth's surface, where researchers worked on technology clearly beyond what the Council believed humans possessed. Your models failed to account for human innovation under pressure, Reed continued. We knew something was wrong when our first applications for advanced research were denied without explanation. When our colony ships were limited to specific, resource-poor systems. When our most brilliant minds were invited for special cultural exchanges that somehow always resulted in their research being redirected. Fifth Counselor Alos, a being of pure energy contained in an ancient mechanical shell, spoke for the first time. What do you want, human? No single species can stand against the Council. Reed smiled again. We don't stand alone. The screens changed once more. On dozens of worlds, other ships were appearing, belonging to species that had been Council members for centuries or millennia. The Tellarites with their unmatched computational skills, the Vordani, masters of bioadaptation, the Lycani, whose empathic abilities had been strictly regulated for 900 years. You thought yourselves so clever, Reed said, keeping species separate, limiting interaction except through Council-approved channels. But in doing so, you created a common grievance. When we began reaching out directly, bypassing your monitored communication networks, we found many eager allies. Seventh Counselor Noor, the eldest and traditionally most reserved member, leaned forward. This is madness. You risk galactic war. No, Reed said firmly. We offer galactic freedom. The Council has presented itself as a democratic institution, but it's an oligarchy. The same founding species maintaining control through technological suppression and manipulation. That ends today. He touched his wrist device again, and the dome above became transparent, revealing the vastness of space and the massive human vessel that had somehow appeared directly above the Council citadel, without triggering any defense systems. Humanity formally withdraws from the Galactic Council, effective immediately, Reed declared. We invite any species that wishes for true self-determination to join us. The others can remain under your guidance. You cannot simply walk away. First Counselor Vostok thundered, his gaseous form expanding with rage. Reed looked up at the ancient being with pity. Watch us. He tapped his device one final time, and before the stunned Council could respond, Reed's form shimmered and vanished, not teleported through any method they recognized, but simply gone, as though he had stepped through a door in reality itself. On every screen, human ships were doing the same, disappearing without trace, leaving behind only a simple message broadcasting on all frequencies. The Quantum Concordat welcomes all who seek advancement without constraint. The age of suppression is over. In the center of the chamber, where Reed had stood moments before, a small device remained, projecting a countdown. The Council's most advanced sensors could not determine its purpose, but the implication was clear. Humanity had just changed the rules of a game the Council had controlled for millennia. And as the ancient rulers of galactic civilization stared at the countdown, they faced a terrible realization. For the first time in recorded history, they did not know what would happen next. Commander Eliana Okafor stood on the bridge of the flagship Defiance, watching the massive Council citadel through the forward viewport. Her dark skin contrasted with the crisp white uniform that marked her as one of Earth's highest military officials. The bridge crew worked quietly at their stations, monitoring the quantum network that kept their fleet invisible to Council detection systems. Ambassador Reed is clear, announced the communications officer. Quantum transition complete. Eliana nodded, her expression serious. Begin Phase 2. Broadcast the evidence packages to all member worlds simultaneously. Around her, the bridge lit up with activity as the most damning secrets of the Galactic Council were transmitted across 3 spiral arms. 40 years of human membership in the Council had been spent gathering intelligence, making allies, and preparing for this moment. Commander, called her executive officer, we're receiving thousands of response signals, many from species we haven't even contacted directly. Eliana moved to the central holographic display where the galaxy spun in miniature, points of light flaring as responses came in. How many? Over 400 species sending recognition signals. The officer replied, disbelief in his voice. They're requesting access to the quantum network. A small smile touched Eliana's lips. It seems we weren't the only ones who noticed the Council's methods. 12 decks below, in the Defiance's diplomatic center, Officer Jackson Mercer worked frantically to coordinate with their known allies. View screens around him showed representatives of dozens of species, some humanoid, others wildly different from any Earth life form. All shared one thing: frustration with the Council's restrictions. The Tellarites are fully committed, reported a blue-skinned aide. Their quantum mathematics research dovetails perfectly with our transportation breakthroughs. They're already implementing the network across their home systems. Jackson nodded, focusing on a conversation with Ambassador Krell of the Vordani, insectoid beings whose biological engineering capabilities had been strictly limited by Council decree. For over 2,000 years, my government confirms full support. Krell's mandibles clicked as she spoke. The evidence you provided about the Council's suppression of our adaptive medicine research has convinced even the most conservative factions. We stand with Earth. Thank you, Ambassador, Jackson replied. The network protocols are being transmitted now. Your scientists will find them surprisingly compatible with Vordani biotechnology. As the diplomatic efforts continued, Dr. Diana Reyes, Earth's foremost xenohistorian, addressed an emergency meeting of allied scientists via quantum conference. The faces and forms of beings from across the galaxy filled floating screens in her laboratory aboard the Defiance. The evidence is irrefutable, she explained, highlighting ancient documents recovered from sealed Council archives. The founding species, the 7 who still hold the High Council seats, discovered these technologies millennia ago. But instead of sharing them, they created an elaborate system to ensure no other species could advance beyond certain boundaries. A Lycani scientist, her fur rippling with emotion, spoke up. But why? What purpose does such suppression serve? Diana changed the display to show complex calculations and star charts. Control. Pure and simple. The quantum technologies we've developed allow instantaneous travel and communication, rendering traditional space lanes, jump gates, and monitored communications obsolete. Without these control points, the Council loses its leverage over member worlds. There's more, added Dr. Marcus Lee, stepping into view beside Diana. His specialized exoskeleton helped support his frail body, a testament to human adaptive technology that the Council had attempted to restrict as unnecessarily advanced for Earth's development stage. We've discovered that consciousness itself can be quantized and transmitted, essentially teleportation, through information transfer, Marcus continued. This breakthrough came because humans were the only species to develop both quantum physics and a unique form of art-based intuitive thinking the Council never anticipated. The alien scientists reacted with various expressions of shock, disbelief, or excitement according to their physiologies. That's impossible, objected a crystalline being. Mind state transfer would require exactly what the Council has forbidden every developing species to research, Marcus interrupted. The correlation between quantum states and conscious observation. They've systematically removed this concept from the scientific education of every member world for 12,000 years. Back on the bridge, Eliana received an urgent alert. Commander, the Council's automated defense network is activating. They're targeting Earth directly. Eliana remained calm. Right on schedule. Implement quantum shield protocol. Throughout the ship, engineers activated humanity's most closely guarded secret, a quantum defense system that created a protective bubble not by projecting energy shields, but by slightly shifting protected objects partially out of phase with normal spacetime. Any attack would literally pass through their location without making contact. All ships report shield protocols active, reported the tactical officer. Earth defensive grid online and functioning at 100%. On view screens across the Defiance, they watched as the Council's fearsome weapons, planet killers that had kept member worlds in line for millennia, fired at Earth. Massive energy beams streaked toward humanity's homeworld and passed harmlessly through it, continuing into deep space. In the Council chamber, panic erupted as reports flooded in. The High Councilors struggled to maintain order as representatives demanded explanations. How had humans developed technology that should have been impossible at their stage? How had Earth survived weapons that could shatter planets? Counselor Desrak, representing the ancient Varathi Imperium, rose to address the chamber, his scaled skin gleaming under the lights. "There is something you must know," he announced, his deep voice cutting through the chaos. "Something the founding members have kept hidden even from most of the council." The chamber fell silent as Desrak continued. The technological suppression wasn't implemented solely for control. The founders discovered something beyond the galaxy's edge centuries ago, an entity or force that destroys civilizations that reach certain technological thresholds. The suppression was meant to keep us beneath its notice. On the Defiance, Dr. Diana Reyes listened to this transmission with narrowed eyes. "He's lying," she said flatly to Eliana. "Or at least not telling the complete truth." "Explain," commanded Eliana. Diana brought up ancient star charts and migration patterns. "We've been analyzing xenoarchaeological data from hundreds of extinct civilizations. There is evidence of an extragalactic threat, yes, but the timing doesn't match the Council's claims. Whatever exists beyond the edge, it isn't what the Council says." She highlighted a pattern of stellar extinctions and abandoned worlds. These events precede the Council's formation. The founders didn't discover the threat, they survived it, possibly by sacrificing younger civilizations. Then they established the Council to prevent any species from developing the technology to discover this truth. Eliana's expression hardened as she processed this information. "So the suppression serves another purpose entirely?" "Yes," Diana confirmed. "Our evidence suggests the founders have been harvesting the developmental potential from younger species, using our suppressed advancement to fuel their own ascension toward a higher plane of existence." Throughout the galaxy, member worlds watched in astonishment as Earth's quantum network spread, offering connection without Council oversight. The message was simple but revolutionary: advancement without constraint, cooperation without control. On dozens of worlds, celebrations erupted as citizens realized the implications. Species that had been denied their full potential for generations suddenly glimpsed possibilities beyond Council restrictions. In the diplomatic center, Jackson received word that a splinter faction of the Council, younger species who had long chafed under the Founders' rule, was formally requesting admission to what humans were now calling the Quantum Concordat. "It's happening faster than we predicted," he told Eliana via quantum link. "The Council is fracturing." Eliana nodded, watching the galactic display where more and more worlds were lighting up with acceptance signals. "Prepare for Phase 3, she ordered. "The Council will not surrender control easily." As if to confirm her words, sensors detected multiple Council warfleets mobilizing, heading not just for Earth, but for every world that had signaled support for the human initiative. "They're going to try to make an example of our allies," Eliana said grimly, "especially those who've been members the longest. The message will be clear: defy us and be destroyed." She opened a channel to all human ships. "All vessels initiate combat protocol quantum strike. Protect our allies at all costs." Across the galaxy, human ships disappeared from their positions, only to reappear instantly at the threatened worlds, their quantum transportation technology rendering traditional space warfare obsolete. The battle for galactic freedom had begun, and humanity had just changed the rules. The Council Emergency Command Center hummed with tense activity. Representatives from 1,000 worlds crowded the tiered seats, their faces illuminated by the harsh light of tactical displays showing the unfolding crisis. At the center, the 7 high counselors huddled in urgent discussion, their usual ceremonial platforms abandoned for a simple round table, a concession to the severity of the situation. A holographic projection of Ambassador Thomas Reed appeared without warning in the center of the room. Council security protocols should have made such an intrusion impossible, yet there he stood, his image solid and clear. "Counselors," Reed said calmly, as if he were physically present. "It's time we discuss terms, or you dare." First Counselor Vostok's gaseous form pulsed with rage. "Your species launches an unprovoked insurrection across Council space, subverts member worlds, reveals classified information, and now demands terms?" Reed smiled thinly. "The time for pretense is over, Counselor. We both know this day was inevitable. The only question was which species would finally break your cycle of suppression. He gestured, and the holographic display expanded to show the current state of the galaxy. Nearly 800 worlds now glowed with the blue light indicating alignment with the human-led quantum concordat. Your hold on the galaxy is breaking, Reed continued. You can either adapt to the new reality or be left behind by it. Third Counselor Nezura leaned forward, her bioluminescent tendrils dimmed with what might have been concern. State your terms, human, Reed nodded. First, the complete dissolution of all technological suppression protocols. Every species develops according to its own path, without artificial constraints. Murmurs rippled through the gathered representatives as Reed continued. Second, freedom for all species to establish direct diplomatic and trade relations without council oversight or taxation. Impossible, objected Counselor Tulax. The interstellar economy would collapse without centralized regulation. It would change, Reed corrected. Not collapse. Your fear of change is precisely the problem, he continued. Third, full amnesty for Earth and all worlds that have joined the Concordat. No reprisals, no sanctions, no military action. Reed's expression hardened. The alternative is simple. We will share our quantum transportation technology with every willing species. The Council's monopoly on interstellar travel infrastructure will end. Your control points, the jump gates, the hyperspace beacons, the monitored space lanes, will become obsolete overnight. The Council chamber erupted in chaotic debate. Some representatives shouted support for the human terms. Others demanded immediate military response. The 7 remained silent, their ancient faces unreadable. Finally, Counselor Desrak rose, his scaled body towering over the others. There is something you do not understand, human. Something beyond your comprehension. The room quieted as the ancient Varathi spoke. The technological restrictions were not implemented merely for control. The founders discovered something terrible beyond our galaxy centuries ago. A force or entity that targets and destroys civilizations that reach certain technological thresholds. Reed's hologram showed no surprise. Yes, we've heard this claim. Convenient how it justifies keeping other species dependent on your protection. It is no claim, Desrak insisted. I have seen the evidence myself. The dead worlds, the extinct civilizations, all reached the level of quantum manipulation you've achieved, and all were systematically eradicated. Aboard the Defiance, Dr. Maya Washington, Earth's foremost xenoarchaeologist, studied the counselor's words carefully. Her laboratory was filled with artifacts and data from hundreds of extinct civilizations, research the council had repeatedly attempted to restrict. He's lying by omission, she told Commander Okafor, who stood beside her. I've analyzed the extinction patterns of pre-council civilizations. There was indeed a wave of destructions approximately 20,000 years ago, but it doesn't match their narrative. She brought up a 3-dimensional map showing ancient star systems. The extinction events radiate outward from the systems now controlled by the founding species, not inward from the galactic edge. Whatever caused those extinctions, it began in what is now Council core space. Okafor's eyes narrowed. You think the founders were responsible? Not directly, Maya qualified. But my theory is they discovered something, a technology or phenomenon, that had catastrophic consequences. Instead of warning other species, they used the disaster to position themselves as saviors, creating the Council to protect younger civilizations while actually controlling them. Back in the Council chamber, Reed addressed Desrak directly. If such a threat exists, then facing it requires the combined innovation of all species, not just the 7 who have appointed themselves our protectors. Suppression makes us collectively weaker, not stronger. Reed turned to address the entire assembly. The Council claims to exist for the common good, yet maintains a hierarchy where the founding species have held uninterrupted power for millennia. This isn't protection, it's stagnation by design. He gestured, and new data appeared in the air around him. Economic reports, development indices, innovation metrics. Look at the evidence. Technological advancement across the galaxy has slowed precisely in proportion to the Council's expansion. Species that should have reached post-biological status centuries ago remain locked in artificial development plateaus. This isn't natural evolution, it's controlled suppression. Before the Council could respond, alarms blared throughout the chamber. On tactical displays, a splinter fleet of Council warships appeared, moving toward Earth's solar system. It seems some of your members are making their choice clear, Reed observed calmly. I should warn you, Traditional space warfare is now obsolete. On the displays, the Council ships approached Earth, only to encounter something unprecedented. Space itself seemed to ripple around the human homeworld. The massive warships simply disappeared. Not destroyed, not damaged, simply gone. "What have you done?" gasped Second Counselor Tulax. "We've relocated them," Reed explained. "Using our quantum network, we've transported your fleet to an uninhabited system 50 light-years away. They are unharmed but will require conventional FTL to return, giving everyone time to reconsider their options." He turned back to the seven. "Your defensive systems, your weapons platforms, your patrol fleets, all designed for traditional space warfare. But quantum transportation makes such defenses meaningless. We can appear anywhere, anytime, without warning." First Counselor Vostok's form pulsed with what might have been fear. "You speak of freedom, human, yet demonstrate power that could enslave us all. What prevents you from using this technology to conquer, rather than liberate?" Reed's expression softened slightly. "Because humanity remembers its own history. We've seen empires rise and fall. We've experienced the horrors of conquest and subjugation. We have no desire to replace one form of control with another." He spread his hands. "The quantum concordat operates by consensus, not hierarchy. Each species maintains its sovereignty while contributing to collective advancement. No single species, including humans, can dictate to others." Throughout the galaxy, more worlds were declaring their alignment with the concordat. The Council's hold on the spiral arms was weakening by the hour. Seventh Counselor Noor, who had remained silent until now, finally spoke. "If what you say is true, then why not simply leave? Why confront the Council at all? Your quantum technology would allow your species to simply depart." Reed nodded thoughtfully. "A fair question. We could have walked away alone, taken our technology and disappeared among the stars. But that would have abandoned countless species to continued suppression. We believe in something greater than isolation or self-interest. We believe in potential, the unique contributions every species can make to the tapestry of galactic civilization." His hologram expanded, showing images from hundreds of worlds now openly developing technologies long forbidden by Council decree. "Already we're seeing remarkable innovations. The Lycani have advanced empathic field technology that promises to revolutionize medicine. The Tellarites have computational approaches that complement our quantum mathematics perfectly." Reed's voice grew passionate. This is what the Council feared most, not some external threat, but the simple truth that cooperation without control leads to advancement beyond what any single species could achieve alone. In her laboratory, Dr. Maya Washington made a sudden breakthrough. "Commander," she called urgently to Okafor, "I've decrypted the oldest Council archives, records predating formal Council formation. The translation is rough, but the meaning is clear." She displayed ancient text recovered from a dead world. The seven founders discovered something they called the Ascension Key, a theoretical approach to evolving beyond physical form. But it required massive energy and computational resources, more than any single species could generate. Okafor leaned closer. "So they established the Council to harvest development potential from other species," Maya finished. "By restricting certain technologies, they effectively channeled the innovative energy of thousands of civilizations into specific, controlled directions that serve their own ascension project." She brought up more translated text. "They've been building something, a massive structure in subspace that draws power from the suppressed potential of every Council memsi. The Great Council Spire, standing for over 15,000 years as the center of galactic governance, trembled, not from physical attack, but from the shockwaves of political upheaval radiating through its ancient halls. Representatives hurried through corridors, emergency meetings convened in side chambers, and species that had been bitter rivals for centuries now huddled together in urgent conversation. The Galactic Council was fracturing. In the High Council's private chamber, sealed from all outside observation, the seven founders faced their greatest crisis. First Counselor Vostok's gaseous form churned with agitation as he addressed his peers. "The humans have forced our hand," he said, his translated voice tight with restraint. "We must implement emergency protocols immediately." Fifth Counselor Elos, whose energy form flickered within its ancient mechanical shell, moved forward. The regression protocols were designed for isolated rebellions, not galaxy-wide insurrection. We lack the resources to implement them across 800 worlds simultaneously. Then we target Earth first, Third Counselor Nazura insisted, her bioluminescent tendrils flashing with aggressive patterns. Remove the head and the body will follow. Seventh Counselor Noor, the eldest among them, remained still. When he finally spoke, even the other counselors fell silent. You fail to understand the true threat. This is not merely rebellion, it is revelation. The humans have discovered the purpose. The chamber went completely silent. The purpose, the great project that had driven the founders for millennia, had never been openly discussed even among themselves. It was simply understood, the unspoken foundation of all council policy. Impossible, whispered Fourth Counselor Draz, his compound eyes reflecting the chamber's dim light. The evidence was purged from all accessible records. The mathematical principles were fragmented across hundreds of unrelated scientific disciplines. No single species could have reassembled the truth. Yet they have, Noor said simply. And worse, they have shared it with others. Meanwhile, aboard the flagship Defiance, Admiral Victor Tannhauser directed Earth's defensive operations from the Central Command Center. Tall and gray-haired, with a face weathered by decades of military service, he studied the tactical displays with practice, calm despite the unprecedented situation. Status report, he ordered. Quantum network at 87% coverage across declared concordate worlds, reported his tactical officer. Defensive protocols active on all major systems. Council loyalist fleets have mobilized in these sectors. The display highlighted several regions near the galactic core. Tannhauser nodded. Deploy observer units to monitor their movements. No engagement unless they target concordate worlds directly. He turned to his communications officer. Status of the diplomatic mission? Political Officer Kwan reports success beyond projections, Admiral. 327 former council species have formally joined the concordate. Another 400 are in active negotiation. Tannhauser allowed himself a small smile. Naomi Kwan had been his protege years ago, before she transferred to diplomatic service. Her skill at building alliances was proving invaluable in this crisis. Across the galaxy, Naomi worked tirelessly. Currently on Teller Prime, a key world whose computational expertise made them crucial allies, she addressed representatives from dozens of species in a hastily arranged conference. The Interstellar Cooperative is not merely a rejection of council authority, she explained, her slender form dwarfed by the massive chamber filled with diverse life forms. It is a new model of galactic organization, one based on mutual advancement without suppression. A Vordani representative raised a limb. The council claims humans will use this quantum network to dominate just as they have. Why should we trust your species more than the founders? Naomi nodded, acknowledging the concern. A valid question. The network's protocols are being shared openly with all member species. No single world, including Earth, maintains exclusive control. Furthermore, the Concordate Charter explicitly forbids technological restrictions of any kind. All innovations must be shared among members, she gestured, and schematics appeared in the air. The basic principles of quantum transportation that had been humanity's most closely guarded secret until now. We're not asking for faith, she continued. We're offering proof. The technical specifications for the quantum network are being distributed to all member worlds. Your scientists can verify that no hidden controls or backdoors exist. As Naomi worked to expand the Concordate's membership, Dr. Marcus Lee made a troubling discovery in his laboratory aboard the Defiance. The quantum physicist's hands trembled slightly as he reviewed the data, then opened an emergency channel to Commander Okafor. We have a problem, he said without preamble. The Council has activated something, a dormant artificial intelligence seeded into every member world's computer systems. Okafor's expression tightened. What's it doing? It appears designed to trigger technological regression, Marcus explained, bringing up diagrams of the detected code. When activated, it would systematically corrupt advanced technology, erasing key research and disabling critical systems. It's the Council's failsafe, a way to force rebellious worlds back into compliance. Can you stop it? Marcus nodded. That's the strange part. Our systems are naturally immune. The AI is designed to target conventional computer architectures, but our quantum-enhanced systems operate on fundamentally different principles. He brought up more data. What's more, the immunity is transferable. Any system connected to our quantum network automatically receives protection. The Council's ultimate weapon is useless against precisely the rebellion it was designed to prevent. Okafor smiled grimly. Inform Admiral Tannhauser immediately, and prepare a warning to distribute to any worlds not yet connected to our network. As this crisis unfolded, the Council made its move. Dozens of massive warships emerged from hyperspace near Earth, led by the Council's flagship Eternal Vigilance, a vessel the size of a small moon, never before deployed in living memory. Admiral Tannhauser received the alert with calm determination. They're trying to make a statement. Prepare quantum defense protocols, but do not engage unless fired upon. On the Council flagship, Grand Admiral Zorin, a reptilian being from one of the oldest Council client races, addressed his fleet. Our orders are clear. The human homeworld is to be isolated. No ships in or out. Their quantum network will be neutralized by the dimensional dampening field. His officers acknowledged the commands, though some exchanged uncertain glances. The technology they were deploying was ancient, drawn from the Council's secret reserves, weapons so powerful they had never been used in modern history. As the Council fleet moved into position, something unexpected happened. Space around Earth shimmered, not from the humans' quantum defense, but from the arrival of thousands of ships, vessels representing nearly every species that had joined the Concordat. Admiral Tannhauser stared in surprise at the tactical display. We didn't request this support. Who ordered them here? His communications officer shook her head in wonder. No one, sir. They came on their own initiative. We're receiving messages from all of them. They're here to protect Earth as Earth protected them. The Council fleet halted its advance, suddenly outnumbered 10-1 by the impromptu defensive armada. Aboard the Eternal Vigilance, Admiral Zorin received urgent communication from the High Council. The 7 appeared on his command screen, their expressions grave. Stand down, Admiral, ordered First Counselor Vostok. Return to Council space immediately. Zorin blinked in confusion. But your orders were explicit. The situation has changed, Vostok interrupted. Return now. The Council fleet turned and departed, leaving the massive alliance of Concordat ships in defensive formation around Earth. Throughout the galaxy, similar scenes played out as Council forces withdrew from confrontations with former member worlds. In the High Council chamber, the 7 faced a horrific realization. Their private communications, discussing the true purpose of the Council and the harvesting of developmental potential from member species, had somehow been broadcast across all Council frequencies. How? Demanded Nazura. Those channels were quantum encrypted. The humans, Noor said quietly. Their quantum technology must operate on principles we haven't anticipated. They didn't break our encryption, they bypassed it entirely. Throughout Council space, member species were receiving undeniable proof of what many had long suspected, that the ancient founders had been manipulating galactic development for their own ascension project. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Dozens of species that had remained loyal to the Council now declared for the Concordat. Others simply withdrew from all galactic affairs, focusing inward as they processed the betrayal. On the Defiance, Reed received confirmation of what they had hoped for, but barely dared expect. It's working, he told Okafor and Tannhauser. The Council is losing its authority hour by hour. Their deception exposed, they have nothing left but their ancient technology, and even that advantage is rapidly disappearing as more worlds join the quantum network. Tannhauser nodded thoughtfully. But the founders themselves still possess tremendous power. They won't surrender 15,000 years of control without a final gambit. Agreed, Okafor said. Dr. Washington's team has translated more of the ancient records. The Founders' Ascension PR, deep beneath the Council Citadel, in chambers unknown even to most of the 7 founders, First Counselor Vostok activated systems that had waited millennia for this moment. Ancient machinery hummed to life, drawing power from dimensional taps placed across Council space. Devices disguised as regulatory beacons, monitoring stations, and navigation aids. The humans leave us no choice, he told his fellow founders, his gaseous form swirling with agitation. We must complete the ascension now, even without full power accumulation. 7th Counselor Noor, oldest among them, placed a restraining tendril on the activation console. The calculations are incomplete. A premature ascension could have catastrophic consequences not just for us, but for all space-time in this region. We have no alternative, Vostok insisted. Our authority crumbles by the hour. The human quantum network spreads, giving younger species access to technology that should have taken them millennia to develop naturally. Everything we've built is being undone. Third Counselor Nazura pulsed with agreement. The humans must not be allowed to claim what we have worked 15,000 years to achieve. The ascension is our right, our destiny. Nor withdrew his restraint, his ancient eyes reflecting resignation. So be it. But I fear we have misjudged these humans from the beginning. Across the galaxy, on every world connected to the quantum network, sensors detected massive energy buildups throughout Council space. On the Defiance, Dr. Diana Reyes monitored these readings with growing concern. They're doing it, she told Commander Okafor. The founders are activating their ascension device. Okafor studied the data grimly. Will it work? Not as they intend, Diana replied. Their calculations were based on controlled development, the harvested potential of thousands of species developing along predictable paths. But with the quantum network spreading exponentially, the energy patterns have shifted drastically. They're working with outdated parameters. What does that mean? Diana's expression grew troubled. Best case, their device simply fails. Worst case, dimensional cascade failure. It could tear open subspace across multiple sectors. Okafor opened a direct channel to Ambassador Reed. Thomas, the founders are making their move. Diana says it could trigger a dimensional catastrophe. Reed's face showed no surprise. We anticipated this. Begin final preparations for implementation Omega. Throughout human space, a signal went out, not through conventional channels, but through the quantum network that now linked nearly 1,500 worlds. Ships changed position, research facilities activated dormant systems, and Earth itself began to shimmer with unusual energy patterns. On Teller Prime, Naomi Kwan addressed the concordant assembly once more, her voice calm despite the urgency of the situation. The Council founders have activated technology that threatens galactic stability, she explained, not through malice but through desperation. They seek ascension to a higher plane of existence, but their methods are fundamentally flawed. She gestured to displays showing energy buildups across Council space. Their approach treats consciousness as something to be harvested and channeled, a resource rather than an inherent quality. Humanity discovered a different path. The assembly chamber darkened as a new holographic display activated, showing complex patterns that seemed to exist in more dimensions than the eye could perceive. The quantum network isn't just for transportation or communication, Naomi continued. It's the foundation of a new form of existence, one where consciousness itself becomes non-local, freed from the limitations of individual physical forms while maintaining individual identity. A Lycani representative stepped forward, her fur rippling with confusion. You speak of disembodiment? Uploading minds to machines? No, Naomi smiled. Something far more profound. Not transferring consciousness to different containers, but evolving it beyond the need for containers at all. In the Council Citadel, the ancient machinery reached full power. The 7 founders, positioned at key points around the central chamber, began to glow with unearthly energy as the ascension process initiated. At last, breathed Vostok, his gaseous form beginning to shift into patterns impossible in normal space-time. After 15,000 years of preparation, we transcend. But something was wrong. The energy flows weren't following the calculated patterns. Instead of smoothly channeling into the founders, the accumulated potential wavered, creating feedback loops that threatened to destabilize the entire system. The harvested energy is resisting, cried 5th Counselor Elos, his mechanical shell cracking under dimensional stress. How is this possible? 7th Counselor Nor watched with sad understanding. The consciousness we harvested was never truly ours to command. The suppressed potential of thousands of species, it has its own collective will. Throughout Council space, the regulatory beacons and monitoring stations that had secretly functioned as energy taps began to overload. Some exploded in spectacular bursts of dimensional energy. Others simply vanished, leaving behind localized tears in space-time. On the Defiance, Admiral Tannhauser received reports of the escalating crisis. All concordant vessels maintain quantum shield protocols at maximum, he ordered. Prepare for dimensional shockwaves. Dr. Marcus Lee burst into the command center, his specialized exoskeleton whirring with his hurried movements. "We need to act now," he told Tannhauser. "The Founder's device is destabilizing faster than predicted. If it collapses completely, the dimensional cascade could spread to multiple sectors." "What are our options?" Tannhauser demanded. "Only one," Marcus replied. "Implementation Omega. It's ready." Tannhauser nodded grimly and opened a channel to Earth. "This is Admiral Tannhauser. Request final authorization for Implementation Omega." The response came not from military command, but from the United Governments of Earth. "Authorization granted, Admiral. May your journey open new frontiers for all sentient life." Tannhauser turned to his crew, his weathered face solemn. "Send the signal. All human vessels, all human worlds, initiate Omega Protocol." Across human space, an unprecedented transformation began. Earth itself seemed to shimmer, becoming partially transparent as portions of its mass shifted slightly out of phase with conventional space-time. Human ships throughout the galaxy underwent the same transformation, not vanishing completely, but existing simultaneously in normal space and somewhere else. On the screens of the Defiance, the Council Citadel appeared, its ancient structure now surrounded by dimensional anomalies as the Founder's device continued to malfunction. In the observation deck, Reed watched with a mixture of sadness and determination. "It's time," he said softly. The Defiance shimmered, its hull becoming translucent as the quantum transition began. Reed opened a final communication channel to the Council chamber, where the 7 Founders struggled to control their failing Ascension device. "First, Counselor," Reed said, his image appearing before the distressed Founders. "Your Ascension approach was fundamentally flawed. Consciousness cannot be harvested or controlled. It must be invited to evolve." Vostok's destabilizing form pulsed with rage. You've done this! Somehow you've corrupted our calculations." "No," Reed replied calmly. "We simply offered an alternative. The consciousness you've been harvesting for millennia, it's making a choice. Throughout the galaxy, on every world connected to the quantum network, individuals of thousands of species were witnessing the crisis unfolding in Council space. But they were also receiving another message, an invitation from humanity." Reed continued, addressing not just the Founders but all who could hear. "We came to the stars looking for neighbors and found only masters and slaves, a system built on suppression rather than cooperation. We're leaving this limited conception of reality behind. But our door remains open." On screens across the galaxy, Earth itself seemed to flicker between states, sometimes solid and real, sometimes transparent, sometimes seemingly absent altogether. "Humanity has discovered what your Ascension project sought but could never achieve, a true evolution of consciousness. Not by harvesting the potential of others, but by freely sharing our own." In her laboratory aboard the partially transitioned Defiance, Dr. Diana Reyes monitored the quantum network that now spanned the galaxy. "It's working," she whispered in awe. "Individuals from over 300 species are joining the transition." The quantum network, originally designed for transportation and communication, revealed its true purpose. It formed a collective consciousness framework that maintained individual identity while transcending physical limitations. Not uploading minds to machines, but evolving consciousness beyond the need for fixed physical forms altogether. In the Council chamber, the 7 Founders watched in horror as their carefully planned ascension collapsed around them. The ancient machinery, designed to channel harvested potential into their transformation, overloaded completely. "What have you done?" Vostok demanded of Reed, his form increasingly unstable. "We offered choice," Reed replied simply. "The consciousness you've been harvesting for millennia has chosen a different path, one based on cooperation rather than exploitation." He extended a hand that seemed both physically present and impossibly distant. "Even now, the invitation extends to you as well. Release your control. Join the evolution freely offered rather than seizing what was never yours to take." 6th Counselor Marek, who had remained silent,